Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the regular meeting of the Caledonia Board of Education to order. Please join me in honoring our country with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Barbara Garcia. Here. Randall.
Here.
Clement.
Here.
Collins.
Here.
Bone. Here. Morris.
Here.
Nichols. Here.
Item 4A, we have National Merit Commended Students here today, and it's going to be a very special celebration. I'll turn it over to you, Jared.
Thank you. Well, it's always a wonderful, wonderful opportunity when we get to celebrate outstanding achievement. And tonight we have two high school seniors here who have been named as National Merit Commended Students, and that represents less than 2% of all students across the United States. And so they are in rarefied company with this great honor. And so we wanted to take a moment and just celebrate them and all their hard work and their outstanding achievement, and just really thank them for all their efforts through the years. So we're gonna walk around in a minute and shake your hands, but I wanna introduce you while I still have the mics, and then Mr. Morris and I will come around and we're gonna give you a little certificate, and then after that, we're gonna pause just a minute and then bring you back up here with your parents this time so that we can get a photo in front of the cow up here with you and your parents. So with us tonight, we first have Sophia Anderson over here, and we have Aiden Hoisington. So congratulations to both. I'm gonna be directed to where we're standing. So let's have you both step up here with us, and then Kelly, you're gonna take,
Yeah, why don't you guys walk around to the back?
you wanna take a picture here first with the
Sure,
four
yeah.
of us, and then
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
go up with the parents. All right, you two get to stand in the middle.
Okay. Alright, ready? Yep. You're okay, you can just smile, you're in it, so. Okay, thanks.
All right, now we can take. We're gonna do probably one at a time here. Standbys. Get too many in one time up here, it gets too long.
Why don't you guys come forward just a little bit, right, go even with the wall, and I'm gonna step over into this side. Want these things down?
Congratulations.
Thanks. Good. Okay. Ready? Thank you. Okay.
Didn't know you were gonna be on camera.
Perfect, you guys split up the green. Do you want it open so you can see it, not just the stars? Or? Yeah. There you go. Great stuff. Us moms get proud, you know? Nice. Thank you.
Thank you and Tim need to get together and get you guys have the same shirt.
I know.
Oh yeah, how about that?
Thank you,
What
everyone.
chances that's good?
Appreciate you both for being here. Have a great night.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations.
On to item 5, the student representative. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Peyton DeHorn. I'm a representative from Student Council, and I'm gonna be telling you what some clubs are going on right now the next couple weeks. So Student Council had a very successful homecoming. Over 1,000 students came to Scotland Yard. We honored Tom Burrell as our Grand Marshal in the parade, and we crowned Parker Lipsman and Avery Middlemiss as our King and Queen. This week we are planning Fright Night, which will be held next Tuesday, the 28th. That we are working with the PSTO to run this event, and Student Council will handle the scaring in the woods, and then the PSTO will hand out donuts and cider in the front. The Be Nice Club is working on their football game, which will be this Friday. Their mission is to recognize, understand, accept, and take action when it comes to mental health. In the high school, we have over 50 members, and there's more in the middle school. And this week, we're selling t-shirts that people can wear to the football game. NHS is working on their induction ceremony, which will be Monday, October 27th, and their blood drive will be November 25th. FFA had a successful hog roast fundraiser last Thursday to raise funds. Members of the community came out to support the FFA through a live auction. They had over 30 items donated from various local businesses. Students are working hard the past 5 weeks to raise 100 broiler chickens to be ready for the FFA broiler contest, where they compete with other FFA teams across the state. Today, they took 56 students to compete in the contest and experience and assist in the final processing of the broilers. Final results from that should be posted in the next few weeks. Thank you, guys.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, on to item 6, public comment. The board recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express their views. Please limit your statements to 3 minutes. Participants shall direct all comments to the board as a whole, not to staff or any participants. No person may address or question any board member individually. The board cannot accept public comment regarding personnel issues. All personnel issues are referred to the superintendent for a resolution. And as always, please keep your comments respectful and professional. We don't have problems with that either, so. On to our first one, Mr. David Martin.
Thank you. My name is David Martin. I live in Lowell, but I have a grandchild who is now in kindergarten here, so you're gonna hear from me too. My address is to the board. It is also to the audience, so I may spin around a little bit. I know you probably want to record this. My talk is about a Supreme Court decision in June of 2025 in a case titled Mahmoud v. Taylor. I would expect the board to be very familiar with this. It is one of the more consequential rulings in the last decade, and it is specifically directed with public schools. In brief, and it is MAHMOUD. Anyone want to research this? Everything I say is true. Briefly, a Virginia school district used certain textbooks in classrooms without allowing parents to opt their children out of those classes. As is typical nowadays, the books promoted LGBTQ lifestyles which oppose Islamic teachings. Thus, an Islamic family named Mahmoud sued the school district. The school district argued that mandating these books was necessary to promote inclusivity of thought and behavior. The school stated that parents could simply, that's a quote, send students to private schools in order to opt out of such teachings. Notably, one school board member called the Islamic family white supremacists, showing just how far elitists will go to cling to their power. However, in ruling for the parents, the Supreme Court affirmed that the family's religious rights overrides rights of the schools. The court wrote, quote, "We reject this chilling vision of the power of the state to strip away the critical rights of parents to guide the religious development of their children." Unquote. Schools must now inform, and allow parents to pull students from classrooms to avoid content that conflicts with their religious beliefs. So, to you parents out there, it is now your firm right to investigate curriculum and pull students out of any lesson that conflict with your religious beliefs. And that pertains to every single lesson, every single day of the year. It is also your responsibility to monitor the Michigan Board of Education, which, believe it or not, just 2 months after the Supreme Court decision, is now proposing to circumvent state law by eliminating opt-out provisions for sex education classes. You can look it up, it's happening right now. So why would a state board propose a standard in direct conflict not only with state law, but the US Supreme Court? Well, remember what I said about elites hanging on to power. And do you think those elites would worry whether they trample on your rights if they trample on the US Supreme Court? I think not. So, parents, please stay vigilant. Demand to know what is being taught to your students. School board, please stick to education. That's your job. Don't need to get into these other territories. And believe me, I've heard good things about Caledonia, much better than Forest Hills where I often speak. So keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Sylvia Murphy. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Sylvia Murphy and I live at the trailhead, the Paul Henry Trailhead, where the Village Council is proposing to build a 23-space parking lot. 670 people have signed Stop the Lot petition, which is an overwhelming opposition to this lot. That's 670 people, the majority being taxpayers and trail users. And most of them don't start walking on the trail at the trailhead. They leave their homes, they're on bike or foot. When I'm working out in my yard and or walking my dog on the trail, many people stop and ask me, what can we do to stop this parking lot? We don't need it. And hopefully you have all heard from many of them. And they say there's plenty of parking places, lots on the end. There's also parking on the street. The fact is that within 2 commercial blocks, no businesses are losing customers because their customers can't find a place to park. Another fact, and that I hope that we can all agree on, is that no matter what you do to please people, some of them will always complain. Putting a parking lot in Main and Kinsey will destroy the neighborhood. It would destroy the natural beauty and be a 24-hour nuisance. Right outside our back doors, car noise, people noise, lights, and the threat for children walking through a parking lot that's fenced in on both sides, the threat of home invasion, especially to those seniors that living in the condos, and all of us that border the parking lot. And let's not forget, the proposed parking lot is directly across the street from a bar. My final point is that many mature trees will be destroyed by this parking lot. And these trees serve as a filter for the fertilizer dust and the grain dust that is blown off the elevator every day. If these trees are removed, that dust would be much more likely to drift further into the nearby neighborhoods. Please, don't allow this parking lot to be approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is Katie Grimes. Welcome.
Hi there. My name's Katie Grimes. I have 2 boys in the district. One goes to Caddo Lake, one goes to Craft. My husband and I are 2004 graduates of Caledonia, so we want to thank you first of all for all you do. We're very happy with Caledonia Schools, being here almost our whole lives. I'm coming with a concern that's kind of a twofold concern around busing in the district. My fifth grader, it's his first year, starting school earlier. He was really looking forward to riding the bus, being at a bigger school, meeting new kids on the bus, and his bus time is 6:18 in the morning. We have to get him up at 5:30 in the morning to get him on the bus at 6:18. It's a 57-minute bus ride for him. Our neighborhood is the very first stop. On the way home, we are the very last stop. So he has a 66-minute bus ride on the way home. When I went to school, I knew that it was known that if you were the first one picked up in the morning, you were the first one dropped off in the afternoon. I called the bus garage the first week of school expressing my concern, talked to somebody, was told I would be reached back out to. Didn't hear anything back, called back 3 weeks later, talked to somebody else, was told I would be followed up with, didn't hear anything back. I understand that there's a shortage in bus drivers, I really do. I work in another school district as a teacher, so I really understand that concern. But I really would love to see this addressed within Caledonia. If not this year, at least for the following year. We've started transporting our son in the morning, and we're fortunate to have grandparents that can help in the afternoon, so he can get 45 more minutes of sleep. It's a long day waking up at 5:30 in the morning and getting home at 3:45 for a 11-year-old. I also thought that when redistricting or doing homeschool districts, that was supposed to help with the long bus rides students were having. But I can't imagine that they were any longer than an hour or almost an hour and 20 minutes. So again, I don't expect this to be dealt with this year, but if it could be something that is on the radar for in the future, I think it could also help with, I know other parents have decided to transport because of the long bus rides. They started out signing up for the bus, and once they saw how long it was, they've started driving. So it could cut back on the traffic at the buildings. If the bus rides were more reasonable, then the car traffic wouldn't be as bad either, as I know it is. So again, thank you so much for all you do, and I really appreciate your attention to this.
Thank you. Next is Bonnie Keller. Welcome.
Hello. I'm Bonnie Keller. I live on Alaska Avenue in Caledonia. And I'm here to talk about the proposed parking for the trailhead. I've been coming in, I drive in from Alaska. I don't run or walk to the trail anymore. And so I drive in any time of day, sometimes morning, sometimes afternoon, sometimes evening. I've never had a problem finding a parking place to do that trail. If ever it's been very busy, I have gone over to the Lakeside Park. There's a huge parking area there. And you pick up the trail there and double back. So I don't understand why this is being proposed. Has people complained that want to come in and go on the trail that they can't park? And if that parking lot is put there, will that be designated only for people on the trail, not for anybody else? If this is being proposed and going to be done through the parks or whatever, I think it has to be for the trail users. And at this point, I see no reason that we need that. And again, it takes away, Caledonia is a small little community, and you take those trees out there, I mean, you're just gonna make right across is the granary and the bar, and then you're just gonna have this big open parking lot. Caledonia doesn't need more ugliness. We need to have it kept like it is. And unless that parking lot is only gonna be used for people using that trail, I think it must be being used for something else. So I'm totally against it, and I've talked to many people that use that trail. Nobody has a problem finding a place to park. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Last one tonight is Rebecca Sowerby, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Sowerby, and I'm here tonight representing the Caledonia Education Association. I teach STEM at Craft Meadows Intermediate School, and I'm honored to share just a few snapshots of the amazing teaching and learning happening across our district. Excuse me, from our youngest learners to our graduating seniors. In our early childhood special education program, Danielle Boston and Darlene Barkle recently received glowing feedback from the Kent ISD AAC coach. The coach praised their use of visual and mini schedules, modeling of communication devices, and strong teamwork among staff. So much so that she hopes to return to film their practices as examples for others. Their classrooms are a model of inclusion and early support for our youngest learners, and it's a wonderful reminder that the foundation for communication and learning starts early, and that our youngest students are supported by an incredible team. At Kettle Lake Elementary, first grade teachers Carol Gray and Brittany Rasinski help students celebrate Fire Safety Month with a visit from the Caledonia Fire Department. 2 students, whose dads are firefighters, proudly joined the crew as classmates explored the ladder and hose trucks, sprayed the fire hose, and tried on gear. The day was full of excitement, learning, and appreciation for the community helpers who keep us safe. The smile said it all. Learning was truly on fire that day. At Craft Meadows, Ashley Sackett students took to the court for a lively basketball review game before their math test. The competition was friendly but fierce, with teamwork, strategy, and plenty of cheering. It turned test prep into a fun, high-energy experience and proof that math and movement make a winning team. Students were so engaged they barely realized they were reviewing for a test. At Duncan Lake Middle School, 8th grade ELA teachers Amy Yellen DeBuscher, Alicia Ginzel, and Emma Ritz-Smith are beginning their Holocaust research unit. After studying the Holocaust through novels and discussion, students are selecting their own topics within World War II, learning to ask meaningful questions, conduct credible research, and use MLA citations. The project concludes with a gallery walk showcasing their work and engaging in thoughtful capstone to the unit. It's inspiring to see middle schoolers connect research, writing, and understanding so meaningfully. And at the high school, Ian Durkee and the amazing CHS Student Council organized a fantastic Spirit Week filled with creativity and pride. From themed dress-up days and assemblies to the parade, homecoming court, powder puff game, and dance, everything ran smoothly. Ian's leadership turns homecoming into more than a school event. It's a community celebration that brings everyone together. It's these shared experiences that make Caledonia feel like one big family. These stories are just a glimpse of the creativity, dedication, and heart our Caledonia educators bring to the students each day. Thank you for your continued support of our teachers and for celebrating the extraordinary work happening in the classrooms across our district. Thank you.
Thank you. On to item 7, consent agenda, September 22, 2025 special meeting minutes, October 15, 2025 committee of a whole minutes, September 25 payables, and October 2025 personnel report. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Are there any questions, comments? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Barbara Garcia,
Yes.
Randall,
Yes.
Clement,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Cone, yes, Morris,
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
On to item 8, superintendent report.
All right, we've got quite a bit to chat about tonight, and I think we're gonna start with the less fun things, and then we'll go to the more fun things. And so we have as the first action item coming a little bit in just a few minutes about the audit. And before we do that, we wanna give you a little overview both of the audit and the budget, and Sarah and myself are gonna do this together. And so let me turn on the little clicker here, even though it's only a couple of pages of slides. So just as a general overview about the state budget, which passed earlier this month, there were some, from our perspective here at Cal Schools, some positives and negatives. From a positive side, there were some significant increases that came along in per pupil funding, and that's what we call the foundation allowance. There was additional increases for at-risk, for special education, for English learners and more. And then another thing that was continued, it's labeled as one-time money, but we were able to get it for another year, and that's some transportation funding that helps to offset the costs that we as a large district with a lot of square miles get as part of our assistance with providing transportation. From the negative side in this year's budget, the budget reduced the state support for the MIPSR system by almost, as you can see, $660 million. And so in essence, what that means is that our district will need to be picking up our share of those costs. And so that is a significant change to the negative. And also in this year's school aid fund for really unprecedentedly, the amount of university funding was greatly increased in the school aid fund, and you can see there by the tune of almost $400 million more here into the school aid fund. It was not that long ago that there were no university costs, and in fact, if we go back about 10, 12, 15 years ago, there were no community college costs in there either. The state has two major buckets of money. The general fund is one and the school aid fund is the other, and the general fund has suffered over time from more funding challenges, where the school aid fund has been a more stable fund, and as a result, there has been an ongoing effort that has tried to slide things that were previously funded in the general fund, including community colleges and universities, over to the school aid fund. And you can see on this number here, more than $1.34 billion now on a $22 billion budget is going just for community colleges and universities. And that would be a really, really large additional per pupil amount that we could get. So while we're grateful for the $442 that it went up this year, it could go up much, much more if that $1.34 billion were actually allocated as arguably was intended when Proposal A passed back in the 90s to go to K-12 schools. And so that's another sort of negative. Of course, the big pressure that the state, if you read up on any of this budget stuff, the big pressure for the state was road funding. And all of these moves were designed to free up more money in the general fund to be able to devote more money to roads. And so in essence, through these moves, some school aid fund money has made it possible to fund roads. And from our perspective, that's not what was intended within Proposal A. Also, just as we look to the future and what might be coming in just a few months as they start the next state budget cycle, it's hard to believe, but the governor typically comes out with her budget proposal in February. So we're not far away from that, and so they will begin this process all over again. In this year's budget, what they label resources, we would call that revenue. So they are counting in that the revenue that supports the school aid fund, plus they tapped into a lot of reserve funds that they had available to them this time around. So they had $21.48 billion in resources identified this year, and their expenditures are $22.43 billion. So you can tell just by doing the math that things are not quite evening out there. And that causes, for me at least, a little concern moving forward. And at the very bottom of this slide, I put on here what the balance sheet looks like. We deal with balance sheets, right? And we talk about this when it comes to audit and all these sorts of things. So as they began this year that we are now heading into for the state, it starts on October 1st. Their beginning fund balance was almost $1 billion. And with the budget as it's been laid out, that fund balance is projected at the end of 25-26 to have dropped all the way under $50 million. So that's moving the wrong way. And therefore, if they were to continue the same levels of funding next year, right, and if the revenues don't significantly increase, you can do the math. If you're overspending your revenues by almost $1 billion and you only have 50 million sitting there in the fund balance, what's gonna happen, right? And so that's of concern. That's also a relatively low fund balance to get through the entire year on, and they will be doing some updates on how revenues are going over the course of the year. They'll do one in January and then in May. And if tax revenues, for whatever reason, drop, they could be looking at mid-year what to do about that because they can't end the year with a negative. So all these things it's all fine for now, but it does cause me a little concern as we look forward to just be careful and cautious and keep an eye to the future. And I'll close with this for my portion, and we're gonna have Sarah explain what that means for us more specifically. The road proposal that went through this year ended up with about $2 billion and change more for roads. The original target had been $3 billion. So there's pressure to have even more money going toward roads than what they were able to devote toward it this year. And so it all adds up to some concern moving forward. So I'll leave it at that, and I won't be more of Mr. Doom and Gloom, which I get accused of being. So I'll be sunshiny here in a few minutes talking about some great things happening. But Mr. Vries will now talk about what this means for us here in Caledonia.
Okay, so locally here, what I have laid out on the far left, the state budget is broken out into what we call unrestricted funds. And so unrestricted means that we can use those funds in any way we need to for our operating budget. Then there's a section of restricted funds, and so there's a portion of the budget that is in categoricals or in areas specific to areas that we have to use those funds for. So it's really not open to be able to use for any operational cost. So I have it separated. And then in the middle, the first set of numbers, that is the state adopted budget. So it's looking at a per pupil amount. So the foundation allowance is the first item. We receive $442 per pupil. On the far right, you can see that is what we have included in our adopted budget when we came in June to start this year. Our adopted budget included some of that foundation allowance increase, but we have $50 more per pupil that we can put into our budget that I did not account for. If you keep going down the list, you see two items labeled MIPSers, that's the retirement. So we have MIPSers section 147A1. That is actually a reduction of $73 per pupil. that wasn't on our radar at all, so that's not included in our current budget, so that has to come off. Then the other MIPSers, section 147A4, that was being talked about, so I had already included that reduction of $365 per pupil in our budget. Then there is a retirement cost decrease. The rates went down. We're able to save on the expense side of 1.45%, and that equates to about $100 per pupil. So on the those are all unrestricted. So on that unrestricted section, on the state's approved budget, that equates to $104 per pupil. And for our budget, the impact is actually a decrease that we have to pull out of $23 per pupil. Then when you look at that restricted section, so we have increases, and I didn't include any of this in our budget, so you can see the state and our budget is gonna be the same. So at risk 31A is an increase of $24 per pupil. There's a categorical for early literacy, and that's being removed. So that's $14 per pupil reduction. And then bilingual, that's going up a little bit, $2 per person. And CTE is our career tech, and that's going up slightly, $7 per pupil. And then section 51E for special education, a slight increase there. So you can see the restricted section is going up $32 per pupil. So that does need to be added to our budget. So net impact, the states, when you look at unrestricted and restricted together, is $136 increase per pupil. Or on our budget impact is a $9 per pupil increase. So it's not gonna have a huge impact overall on our budget per se. There are two line items at the bottom, and quick, before I get to those two, there's a note in the side, so those MIPSers, the two MIPSers at the top that are being reduced, the 147A4, it has an asterisk. If you remember, last year, the foundation allowance was frozen, and instead, our increase came in a MIPSers offset. So that was the MIPSers offset, but this year, it's being taken away. So that was what that equated to. So the two bottom ones, we are still pouring through and looking at language and what this means for us. There was an educator compensation categorical in section 27L. It appears to us that this is more gonna be in and out of our budget and won't have a budget impact, but we'll wait and see. The estimated amount for us is $120 per pupil. So we need some more investigation in that line item. Then there is also, we've been receiving the 31AA, mental health and safety categorical. That right now has an increase of $38 per pupil. However, there's some language in that was questionable, so whether or not we are actually going to apply for these funds, we're unsure yet, so we have to pour through that language as well. So I do have those at the bottom as potential what ifs. So that's,
Before we move
Yes.
on, let's see if there are any questions.
Yes.
Any questions about the state budget and this high-level overview? There are other little bits and pieces, but these are the largest numbers and things that you may have heard about. Though I just want to return to that MIPSers take back, which was really disappointing because a year ago they included that in the state budget a year ago, as Ms. DeVries mentioned, in lieu of any kind of foundation allowance, any kind of per pupil amount increase. And then this year it gets taken away. And if that had been added on the foundation allowance and then they were to go above that, we'd be getting even more per kid. But they chose to do it this way last year. And now that's been kind of taken away. So while a lot of headlines are talking about the per pupil increase in the foundation allowance, the real net increase when you take away those other amounts off the retirement system, as you can see, is actually pretty detrimental. So that was disappointing to see.
Questions or comments at this point? I can say that being on the board for the past 12 years, the only thing that's increased is the complexity and keeping your eye on the ball and the shell, and it's remarkable that we're able to keep track of all this and explain it in such a very intuitive way, so I appreciate your time and effort on that.
All right, then as long as she's up here, we're gonna go ahead and talk about the audit. And as I said, the first action item, just to give the overview, so she didn't have to play up and down all the time, so.
okay, so we brought the audit report to the board committee meeting last week, and the audit was performed by Gaybridge and Company. And Ian, our lead auditor, was here last week to present on our audit. Pleased to say that we received an unmodified opinion, which is the highest opinion you could get, so that was great news. They also conducted a single audit, which is on our federal programs, and in that audit, we had no findings and nothing to report, so that was good news. But basically, everyone wants to know, like, our operating budget, general fund, what does that look like at the end of audit? And so we ended the year with our general fund at 14.2 million. So this chart right here shows you EOY is end of year. So it looks at our revenues and expenditures of how our audit ended in the 23-24 school year and how it ended in this just past 24-25 school year. So revenues, you can see, went from 73 million down to 72, just under 72.8 million. So it went down 362,000. On the expenditures, we also reduced from 71.5 million down to 70.7 million, down just over 800,000. So net impact, we increased our fund balance from last end of year to this end of year, 476,000. So that's good, we're going in a positive direction, and some of that fund balance we'll be able to help pay for contract settlements that we've had that were not included in our adopted budget, so that will be helpful. Then, if you don't mind pulling up that spreadsheet, I have it linked in this presentation. It will also go up on our district website. It's hard to see on this monitor, but when you pull it up at home, if you're interested, you can zoom in and it's a little bit easier. But what this shows is our general fund different budgets. So the far left is our audited numbers from fiscal year 23-24. Each of the gray or columns are the budgets relating to the 24-25 school year. And the far right gray is our ending final audit. So this kind of just looks at big picture. Each of the variances looks from the budget prior to the next budget. So final audit, the variance on the far right is then looking at our June budget amendments to the final audit. So this will also be on our website. So if there are there any questions related to the audit? And again, I'll have all this information posted on the website within the next couple of days.
Great. Thank you, Sarah.
All right, then I've got a few other things just to note. It has been as we move through the fall here, we've got a lot of outstanding things going on. So permit me a minute just to brag about a few things going on because I think it's been a wonderful fall season. So let's see where to begin. First of all, our equestrian team took home a state championship a weekend ago, and so congratulations to them. Last year they were the reserve state champs, in other words came in second, and this year they moved back into the first place spot, which they had been previously. So congratulations to them, outstanding performance there. We've had two of our teams in the fall season end up as conference champions. So our boys cross country team brought home the OK Green Conference Championship. And at that conference championship meet, our individual runners placed first, second, fourth, 9th, 10th, 19th, and 20th. So they really dominated the competition there. So that was an outstanding result by them. And also our high school girls swim team were the conference champs with our new inaugural year in the pool. So congratulations to our high school swim team as well. Swim program is really off and running very, very well, and our middle school girls swim team will be starting out here very soon, and there are well over 40 young ladies in 7th and 8th grade already signed up for middle school swim. So that's wonderful to see. We've never had a middle school swim team before, so great interest there. Also this past weekend, Cody O'Crangley, who plays varsity golf, she ended up qualifying for the state golf tournament in Division I, and she came in 25th in the state. So wonderful performance by Cody as well. Our marching band wrapped up its competitive season this past weekend, and so in the past 10 days, they were the champs at the Granville Invitational, bringing home the top score of the day. They were this past weekend second place at Alma College, and in between their last Tuesday night, they brought home a first division, which is the highest rating you could get at the District Marching Band Festival. So wonderful performances by our marching band. And then the last thing to mention, we were pleased this past week to welcome Dr. Delsa Chapman. She is the Deputy Superintendent at the Michigan Department of Education, who came and toured here within the district. She made stops at Emmons Lake, at Duncan Lake, and at CHS to look at our hands-on engineering and STEM programming that's going on there, in particular at Duncan Lake, the brand new MIRA program, and at CHS there, the SME Prime program, where students are able to do all sorts of different things with engineering and all. And it's great to be able to have her here. Word of our programming reached her in Lansing, and so we were pleased to show off some of that to her, and she was very impressed. She said herself that she's got science, robotics kind of background, and so she really liked seeing all the great stuff going on. So it's been a wonderful last couple of weeks and very pleased with all the things going on. And that's it for my report.
Any questions, comments for our superintendent?
I have a quick question. When we win state championships, isn't there a sign, like when you're coming into Caledonia?
Well, we have banners in the gym and then, yeah, there's a process for getting signs on on M37, but it has to go through the state highway department and all, so.
I just know that the equestrian team over the years has won, I think several.
Mhm.
I don't know, I just think it would be nice to like start recognizing that. People are coming into the community. We're all coming. Okay, that's it.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I did have one question about the budget. Was just curious if you had a projected timeline for the first amendments, given where the audit came back.
So I don't have an updated, since it was minimal changes at this point on the revenue side, I wasn't planning to do a special budget update and I was planning to continue with the model of doing a December. We have come in December and or January. I kind of like a little bit earlier, so looking at December, but if it is requested or wanted, we could do a budget amendment prior.
The other element that will be worked into there is our student count, which is still in the process of being audited. So, it's a little premature, but by December, we should have that information ready to.
That's all I was looking for. Sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to our other action items. 9B, for those here in the community, these are items we discussed.
Excuse me, Mr. Morris, can I interrupt?
You might.
I got the evil eye from Mr. Hess over here, and he wanted to come up and
Okay.
give you a little update. I totally forgot because I didn't write it down. And that was about our sale this past weekend, so
Yes.
Mr. Hess, take it.
The district surplus sale this weekend went fantastically. I appreciate all your support. Board members, Mr. Morris, Mr. Brandell, Mr. Cohen were there for the entire time, and customer service skills were put to the test, and so were physical skills as helping to load stuff in vehicles and trailers, and I truly appreciate your assistance in being there, and thank you. It went very well. We had a great traffic throughout the day. We moved a lot of stuff out, so a lot of folks went home very happy, so thank you.
Thank you. And I also want to remind the community that we are auctioning off the greenhouse. So those of you interested in that,
On the website.
on the website till the 7th of November, if I'm correct?
I believe so, yes.
89, okay. All right, I'm gonna try it again.
Sorry.
Item 9B, security camera replace. Well, we talked budget already.
We gotta
right?
adopt it.
Oh, right. How could I forget something like that? All right, 9A, audit report.
I move that the board approve the June 30, 2025 audit as conducted by Gabriel and Company.
Second. Any questions or further discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Clement,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Brando,
Yes.
Holm, yes, Nichols,
Yes.
Reber Garcia,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes. 9A passes. Item 9B, security camera server replacement.
I move that the board approve the purchase of security camera servers from Moss as presented in the amount of $106,597.28.
Sorry, that was a lot of numbers.
Second.
Any discussion or questions from board members? Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Holm, yes, Brando,
Yes.
Reber Garcia,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Clement,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes. Item 9C, Dutton furniture package. For motion.
I move that the board approve the district to purchase the Dutton Elementary School furniture package as shown from Do L Corporation at a total of $94,675.59.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions from trustees? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Brando,
Yes.
Holm, yes, Nichols,
Yes.
Reber Garcia,
Yes.
Clement,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes. Motion carries. On to 9D, loader tractor purchase. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approve the purchase of a Kubota M7060 HDC tractor in the amount of $67,974.65 as described from Wolf Kubota.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion, questions from the board?
Can I ask a question? Sorry, I just wasn't able to make the beginning meeting, as you guys
Absolutely.
know, this week, so I was curious, Matt, if you could just speak a little bit about kind of what the Kubota would be used on in the off season when it's not doing snow, salt spreading, et cetera. I mentioned, you saw it would be used, but I was
Yep.
curious for what.
We kind of went through that. We move a lot of equipment and a lot of grounds materials during the summer. We have to actually move certain of our equipment from site to site, so it's something we could just lift up a seeder or a slit seeder. It's a piece of equipment, you just use this to lift it and transport it around, which we cannot do with a lot of our other things. We move a tremendous amount of grass, of dirt, the large rocks you see around the district, we've purchased more of them, we can move those. It just goes on and on. It's an all-around grounds, item. In addition, because of the fact that it has forks, we can use it in our warehouse and we can use it when we do stuff like moving furniture out of Old Dutton, where we can't transport our what's the name of the fork truck that I'm trying to think of for a warehouse? We can't transport our material around because that's a little propane unit, it doesn't travel well. This has the forks, this will travel just fine and be able to load trucks and, so it does have purpose all year long.
Okay, got it. And how often will you be driving it down Patterson, south of 108th Street? Just kidding.
Do we need to stop and visit? It's on our way to Paris Ridge, right?
I know it is.
So. And we've taken equipment out there before, so.
I just have a quick question. How long, what's the lifespan of,
We have had our big John Deere, we bought it used, and I believe we've had our large John Deere unit for 16 years, and we bought it used. Some of our other equipment, our salt truck itself is almost 30 years old now. So yeah, we have a very good track record of maintaining and taking care of our equipment here.
And these are coming from general funds?
Yes.
Thanks, Sarah. Any further questions before we call the roll? Secretary, please call the roll.
Collins,
Yes.
Clement,
Yes.
Cone, yes, Brando,
Yes.
Robert Garcia,
Yes.
Nichols,
Yes.
Morris.
Yes.
Thank you.
ID passes. On to item E, Neil, policy revisions, second reading and adoption. This is something we've been reviewing and digging into over, the past 3 months, I'm gonna guess. And this is aligning our non-discrimination policy under food service and wellness to that of the US Department of Agriculture, which would be striking with the words after sex, including gender identity and sexual orientation. That is found in 2 policies, 8500 and 8510. And we are now looking for a motion on whether we will adopt. Is there a motion? We'll do these individually, 8500.
Like 2 separate motions.
I think it should be one. One is fine.
I'm okay with one unless you're all right with that? Right, one motion.
I move that the board conduct a second reading and adopt immediately the following policies: 8500 food services and 8510 wellness.
Second.
Any questions, comments prior to the roll call? Okay, seeing none, please call the roll.
Nichols,
Yes.
Robert Garcia,
Yes.
Clement,
Yes.
Collins,
Yes.
Randall,
Yes.
Cone, yes, Morris,
Yes. Motion passes. On to item 10, discussion items. These are anticipated board considerations for November. Calplex Phase 2.
Bring Mr. Hess back up and give a quick overview.
Yes, good evening again. Part of the 2023 bond program, the district is moving forward with the completion of the Phase 2 construction at Calplex. Rockford Construction, Spalding to Decker Engineering, Foresight Design, Caledonia Youth Sports Association, Plant Moran Realport, and the district have worked on this design and planning for the expansion and reimagining of the facility. I am sure they left some folks out because there are a lot of people at the table participating with this. And it's been quite a interesting design period. Mr. Wildreyer especially has been very involved and extremely helpful, really remarkable. It's great, I love it. So an RFP for the construction of Calplex Phase 2 construction was published back on the 29th of September. It's been out there, and they are planning to open bids now on Friday morning. That was gonna be on Wednesday, but it's been delayed for 2 days for an addendum that just recently came out. So we have no numbers to fill into the blanks on your form there. We look forward to filling them as soon as they open bids and do some post-bid follow-up, and we will report that as soon as possible. And we'll do the usual format where we lay it out trade by trade, so.
Is there any indication on how the numbers might fall out, from the bid activity, the volume?
The bid activity looks good. As of just the other day, they were talking about 9 earth moving companies, which is high. That's a high number for that, and 7 electricians. And apparently, from my understanding, the addendum today was electrical involved ones, so I think that number of 7 has gone up. So there's good activity, so that's great. I think we hit this one very early in the season for next year. We're bidding here every year. It seems to get earlier and earlier, so we're now 10 months ahead of a construction schedule. So getting them out and getting them early is good.
Great.
Is there a way we can get a list of contractors that did the YMCA and the list of contractors that were involved with the stadium by that meeting?
Yeah, I think we could do that. It's it's good.
Yeah, it was all in the, obviously, when we awarded the bids, those names would be
Right, we
in
can probably pull that back
your
up. Yeah,
documents,
you're right.
right, so.
Bring it together and just comparative list.
Provide that to you. That's part of our discussion as we go through the post-bid process too, is interviews with each of the contractors who have submitted usually the lowest 2 bids, so that we go through and vet and ask questions, dig into their bids.
I think Rockford Construction's history and our history with some of the vendors does absolutely make a difference in acceptance.
Any other questions for Mr. Hess? Other items?
Nothing at this time for next month.
Right, thank you. On to item 11, board comments.
I just wanted to thank Kelly Clark for all of the great communication that you have done with the transparency in the community. We've needed that for a long time, and I know as a parent, as a community member, I've seen a huge social presence, and then just looking at the different schools and seeing what's going on has been great. It's just very educational, and it just gets it out there that we are a great school, and I just appreciate all your hard work. I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
Thank you.
I had a long list, but what I did leave off was that Kelly has been given some awards by the State Public Relations Association for all of her work. So she got an Excellence Award for the newsletter, Excellence Award for a social media campaign, Excellence Award for some photos, and also a Merit Award for various marketing materials. So great job by Kelly.
Yes, congratulations. I can remember being on the board and we didn't have a social media presence, and I don't know what we'd do without that at this point. Any other board members? Okay. I have an article I want to share with the board from the Detroit News. We talked about the state Michigan Department of Education and on Wednesday about changing the way they are structuring the health sexual education, and this article's regarding where some of this may end up going. I thought it'd be helpful to share with the board, especially with the comment on McMood Taylor, so.
I too have some material that I wanted to also give to the board as a result of our committee of the whole meeting on Wednesday. We talked about curriculum and specifically about AP Social Studies. And at that meeting, it was apparent that we don't really have a checklist or a rubric or anything like that. That when the teachers are reviewing the curriculum and we're looking at community standards or we're looking at, non-bias that's in our policies, there's not really like a checklist. We found that out. And so AI is awesome, so I'm not gonna claim that I did this myself, but I did kind of just go through and kind of search like a sample rubric of something that we might want to consider the teachers looking at. So for example, I'll just kind of review a couple things, but I do wanna hand it out. Just talks about the curriculum, the contextual relevance of the material, the academic quality of it, the bias minimization of that, and then supplemental materials and things like that. So this is like a sample, so this isn't anything I just wanted to give it to you guys as something we might wanna start thinking about, because as board members, we are responsible for the curriculum that our students are learning and that the teachers are teaching. And so I take that very seriously, obviously, as a board member. And so anyway, I just thought this might be helpful to start, maybe as we're talking about these things that, we might use this, So that's it. I just wanted to kind of put that out there for you guys.
Thank you.
Are you suggesting that would be adopted into the policy?
Not at all. This is just like a more of a way to start the conversation. How the process would work and what that would look like, of course, would all depend on our conversations. Love to involve teachers, love to involve administrators. I think it can be very cohesive and it can be very collaborative if we just start talking about that. Because again, there's not a structure behind that. We found that out with this last curriculum request that really didn't meet the community standards. So I think it's something, we need to talk about it. We need to get everybody at the table, have different opinions, have different viewpoints, how it may negatively affect, how it may positively affect. But at the end of the day, it needs to be talked about. We really gotta get a process down. So whether it's adopted or whatever, that's a whole nother story. Let's talk through that.
A process for the board.
Process for the teachers and process potentially for the board, absolutely to potentially adopt, but also for the teachers. So in that they're bringing us a curriculum that they recommend, that there's a full checklist of does it meet the boxes before you bring it to us. Because if for example, if there's major bias in it, don't bring it because it's probably, we don't wanna waste their time. And we don't wanna waste their time. It was very obvious that they put lots of hours into the research, and I don't wanna do that to them again, and then have them come to us and us deny it. So I'd rather kind of have some parameters around it, that way everybody knows the expectations, and it's just very plainly laid out. I think it's helpful. Again, this is just a sample. We can talk through what that might look like for sure.
Sure, I think we need to be mindful of two things. The first of which is that the policy is indeed the piece that we need to hold any review that we are doing to. And so we need to be thoughtful about if we were to add something to our process around that, that it would be either in policy or that it would be something that we would be adding to the procedures. And if we're adding it to the procedures, then I think that we need to be mindful as a board that we're not overstepping our role and dictating the administrative procedures of the administrative staff and the teachers. So I think we need to be mindful as we discuss this about exactly which steps we're taking and who they apply to.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. And that's again why I think the people that it affects the most needs to be at that table. So we can, like I said, talk about the positives, the negatives, how does this affect, everyday school, how does it affect, is it more work for them, like what's that gonna entail? So again, it's just an idea, it's a sample. I think it's really to bring discussion to the table and bring the players at the table and just talk about it. So I think collaboration is key. There's a lot of times I think that policies or whatever are adopted, and I think it's better to have the people who it's gonna affect most there to kind of talk through that, and I think this is a good stepping stone, so.
It was, I'll just add, it was a little awkward in how the exchange was going with Dr. Diaz. So I think this is just an offer of where we think we might be able to add some structure to what felt very unstructured to us in how she presented what alternatives might be recommended. So they're not spending staff time looking at something that the board's not gonna consider. So we felt we would just offer a little help and bring it to the table. I don't know, Jen, do you think that's what, your thoughts on that? And others that were at the meeting.
Yeah, just as a result of our discussion at the committee of the whole meeting, it felt like, I agree with what you said, a little bit unstructured, and it was clear that the teachers had spent a lot of time reviewing material, but without a lot of clear guidelines from administration on what the evaluating factors would be, like how maybe where to put the weight in their evaluation, and it seemed the more that we had that discussion, like it was, well, this is one that they liked the most, it was the favorite, and I think to Jessica's point, she was asking the question of, well, why was it their favorite? Was it the way it was laid out? Was it the format? Was it the supplemental materials? And it was a little unclear, and it could have just been a miscommunication. So I think that what Jessica's suggesting, it seems like is more of just a way for us to communicate with them on when they are recommending a material, what are the factors that led them to recommend that, so that we can kind of understand where they were coming from, and then they can kind of see where we're coming from as well. But I think it was just meant to give, like you said, structure to the conversation essentially. But I also recall in the past, and I haven't been on the board that long, but Tim, there have been rubrics or tools, evaluation tools used in the past, and rather than doing a new tool, it may make sense to try to dig into tools that have been used in the past and just kind of bring those out again and dust them off, because I think that they already do probably exist.
So, and I agree, I would think they would, when I specifically asked that on Wednesday night, it was said that we do not have a checklist and we do not have that, and so that's really what I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought we would have had that, and since we didn't, that's when I'm like, well, maybe we need to. So, that's really why I did it, cause it didn't sound like there was any kind of structure to it at all, and nothing was getting dusted off at that point, so.
I think just to add a little context too from that meeting, that one of the comments brought up by Dr. Diaz was just that the teachers were wondering what would get approved or why would it get approved? So she seemed to be asking, I don't wanna put words in her mouth, but she seemed to be asking for some guidance or something from the board to just say, how do they know if something will get approved or not approved? And then, the other thing that John brought up that I thought was a good idea too is they seem to be evaluating 3 curriculums or 3 different books to use. And John had brought up, well, can we get an idea how you feel about the other 2? Because we just saw one. So she had mentioned, one of the ones they looked at was not usable, essentially it was useless. The other one though, we didn't know, is it almost as good as the other one that got turned down, or is it very subpar, so just asking for some kind of, I don't know if it's a grade or, just some help to say, if for some reason the board looks at something or whatever and doesn't agree with it, is there a second choice that's reasonable to use, or is it just there was no other good options, just to help get some more information?
Yeah, it feels like this is gonna land somewhere in an administrative guideline somewhere, not a board policy per se, but we just offered this as a little help to the discussion. Any other board comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 12, is our motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Second.
Okay, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned 7:10.
So that'll go quick.